And we're back. Welcome to Print Your Games, the podcast about what's new and awesome in 3D printing for gamers. I'm one of your hosts, Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Param, and I'm joined by.
Christian Sowards, also known as Seventh Mastery.
And today we have a super exciting episode for me. We have Michael Mingers from Ulisses Spiele. And I hope I
Hi.
said that anywhere close to correct.
Yeah, sounds fine.
Awesome. Michael, tell us a little bit about what is Ulisses Spiele and who you are.
Well, I'm Michael Mingers, and I have been a full-time RPG tabletop person employee with Ulisses Spiele for more than a decade now. Ulisses
Nice.
Spiele is an RPG publisher from Germany.
Oh, okay. And so one of Useless Spill, important RPG for Germany, and you're on the podcast because y'all have decided to release 3D printable models.
We do. We have offered now a tribe on my mini factory for one of our role-playing games with a combination of role-playing game adventures and SDL files.
Now, before we jump into the exact offerings y'all are doing, I want you to give us a little bit of a catch up of, hey, how'd you get into gaming and how'd that lead to you all being a full time RPG industry professional?
Well, I've started RPG in school when I changed in the German school system. After the first 4 years, you changed the school, and in the new school, I knew nobody, and I met up new people, and they introduced me to RPGs. It was The Dark Eye, of course, because that was and is still the biggest RPG in Germany. And from there, I found my new most beloved hobby, which would be a big part of my life for the next decades. And after I finished university, I did a lot of video interviews with the German RPG scene on conventions and such. That is 12 years ago. We didn't have a lot of video content, and a lot of people didn't even know how the RPG authors and the people that create the RPGs in Germany even looked. So we took up a camera and we went to the conventions and we did some interviews. And I did that for a few years. So I got a lot of contacts into the RPG scene. And at one point, Ulisses Spiele had a job offer open, and I went for it.
Well, that background sounds eerily similar to my own background.
I was gonna say that. It's
Holy
very
crap.
close. Very
You're
close.
German me. Awesome. So you said you got into the Dark Eye. You didn't get into unlike 90% of us over here in America, your first RPG wasn't Dungeons and Dragons?
No. Dungeons and Dragons had a complicated history in Germany. It started. That's basically the main reason why the Dark Eye even exists, because when Dungeons and Dragons First Edition was about to be released in Germany, the royalties were so high that Spiele, the publisher or the want-to-be publisher for the Dungeons and Dragons in Germany, said, "Okay, either you go down with royalties, or we will make our own game and we will drive you out of the market." And basically they did that. They just pushed for it. They gave a few hippies 2 months time and a little bit of money, and then told them to come up with another game system, which must be very unlikely like D&D. So D&D rolling high is good, and the Dark Eye rolling low is good. They started out coming up with a setting. So they took a big piece of paper and 2 pens, and they started out drawing the continent, one of the two authors on each side, and they met at the end, and that was basically the Aventuria, very imaginative name for an RPG setting. And this is still the biggest RPG in Germany. And yeah, there were German editions, but most of the time they didn't see that many releases over the years. For 4th edition, for example, we only had the 3 core books in German before the license was pulled, because the sales weren't high enough. So we didn't have any D&D at the time. So which made it even easier for Pathfinder to grab market share in Germany.
Oh, and 4th edition with just the 3 core books is almost unplayable.
Yeah.
It's not much. And another important thing is we didn't have a character creator in German. And playing 4th edition, I loved 4th edition, but playing it without the character creation tool was really hard. I don't want to sit down and just copy all the text from the books into my character sheet. With the character creator, it was super easy. And up
Especially
to
since they were like,
this day, D&D Beyond doesn't have any other language support besides English.
oh wow, that seems like a humongous oversight.
Hmm.
Yeah, and fourth edition's character software was basically required to play that game because they were
Yes.
errating it every week. The rule books were basically worthless about a month after their publication because I remember like printing off the errata sheets and like shoving them in the back corner, and then like some of my core rule book and some of the early books, the covers started to break because of how thick the errata sheets were getting for those books. They was basically unplayable. Anyway, sorry, I'm not here to bash on fourth edition. Does the Dark Eye have a good character creator over in Germany that's in German?
Not really, because the
Oh.
Dark Eye fans are very much into Deadwood. They love their books.
Awesome. But it's interesting. You're here on the show because you're offering up 3D printable minis, and on your store you do have Dark Eye minis. But your tribe isn't focused on Dark Eye. It's focused on Torg Eternity. And
Yeah.
I thought Weston Games made Torg.
My boss, Markus Pletz, the owner of Ulisses Spiele, is probably the biggest Torg fan in the world. So when the company was successful enough, he purchased the rights to Torg and took it into the Ulisses Spiele family. And then we had a subsidiary of Ulisses North America with some authors here, and they created Torg Eternity for us. 2017, I think. And yeah, that's a new edition. It's a new world, a new cosm, and everything started anew, but was very familiar. This was one of the most successful international IPs for us, and the game has seen a lot of expansions over the last few years. And not only when offering SDL files, I can do the Dark Eye, but the Dark Eye has a very narrow market. The Dark Eye isn't as popular worldwide as it is in Germany, but Torg has been with the French or Spanish or Italian or the English version very successful internationally. So I wanted to offer a game that is broadly familiar to players. Also, Torg is wild. So in Torg,
Yes.
I can have a lizard man shaman, a cyber priest fighting an undead demon on top of the Brandenburger Tor in Berlin. This is all Torg. I can offer a wide range of miniatures. I can have. Should I tell something about Torg in itself?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
let's
please. Give
get
us
that
the sales
summary,
pitch.
'cause-
What is Torg, and why is it so crazy?
Torg stands for the other role-playing game back in the day, but it kind of survived that and is now its own acronym. This is a fixed name, but the idea is that our Earth is core Earth and it's full of possibilities. So other realities come in to steal that possibility energy. Sounds like an 80s cartoon, but is way darker. So the other cosms, they come in, and it's not like a portal comes up and then Lizardmen walk out and they start fighting. They bring their own reality with it. So some norms don't work in that reality. The Living Land, for example, with the Lizardman, has very low social structures. It's only tribal structures, and technology doesn't work there. So when the cosm invades our core Earth, they bring their reality with them, and they came up in North America. And so North America is now full of dinosaurs and cavemen fighting in the ruins of cities, because there's also a law of decay. So every technology and every living thing that dies crumbles to dust. So you have ruined cities within a year with cavemen hunting lizardmen or dinosaurs. It's completely crazy. But the player characters are Storm Knights. They are specially chosen people from their reality to protect that reality. They have kind of a bubble around them, so they are protected. So you can, for example, Tuareg is a fantasy dwarven warrior in a magical armor. Magic doesn't work in our world, but as she is a Storm Knight, she can bring that magic with her in that mystical bubble of Storm Knightiness. Also, if she tries to pick up an M16 and fire it at a dinosaur, there might be a conflict of realities, and you have to roll. And really weird things can happen.
I love that part of it. I remember like there's like a mad science Egypt thing, right? Is that one
The
of them?
Nile Empire, yes.
Yeah. That was always an unusual one to hear different stories about. Do you mind running through like what kind of general areas there are in it?
Well, there's our core Earth. This is basically the action movie reality that we know of, but of our Earth. Then there's in North America, it's a living land. It's dinosaurs and a lot of spiritual leaders. We have the cyber papacy, which is like a twisted Catholic Church, but with cyberware and totalitarian regime and internet. We have Orosh, a horror reality. The Nile Empire, the pulp hero Egyptian reality, and Tarkhold, which invaded Russia with cyber demons. Yeah, it's wild. And Pan Pacifica in the Asian area. They started out with a zombie virus, but now established more corporate intrigue and other stuff. Some of those cosms are more close to our reality, but some are completely wild.
Very cool.
So this sounds like it opens up like a lot of possibilities for some really wild adventures. And when I was studying up for this episode, like cinematic over the top action was kind of built into the base DNA of this game system. Can you tell us a little bit about
Yes.
how?
You don't roll for initiative. You have a drama deck, and you can use that for a player agenda. So you can put in, okay, now we have this moment with romantic interest coming in. If you know the action deck from Savage Worlds, this is. Shane took a lot of ideas from Torg back in the day, even also with the rule system. But I love both of the games, and there's also something like a glory card. If you have a spectacular high result on a roll, you can play a glory card, and you did something so glorious that the reality around changes. So you can save people that were transformed into cavemen in North America, and they come back to your reality and that you spread out then. And just because you did something awesome. And Storm Knights are very much larger than life heroes.
Mm-hmm. And I can kind of see why you all would want to establish a miniature line for a game like this, because I can't go down to my local game store and grab my Cyber Priest Lizard Man model. They don't make those. I'm not going to be able to do that. But this game seems really, really cool, and I would want to. I mean, as somebody who's really big into 3D printing and making for games, I would want to have the cool crumbling skyscraper map with the dinosaur riders, and bring in the Storm Knights with the Dwarven Magic M16 user. But I can't go get that stuff easily. So is this why you all like, hey, 3D printing is an answer for you all? Like, give us why 3D printing? Why 3D printing?
If you look at the 3D printing market, there's basically three big blocks of miniatures that are available. It's a generic fantasy that's compatible with 5e or such. There is wargaming alternatives, let's say, and there are Space Marines. That's the three big things. So, but I can nowhere can something like a Nile Empire Shock Trooper be found, which is really odd pulp hero. On the screen you can now see some of the Storm Knights. Those come from different realities, but they fight together to counter the High Lords, which start those invasions. And all of the High Lords are evil guys, but from each of the cosms, such heroes can come. The Shroud, for example, is a Storm Knight hero from the Nile Empire, and he's very much a pulp action hero.
Very cool.
Yeah, the mini we pulled up that is the Shroud. It's got like this very pulp 40s 30s era outfit on. Is like wielding a what is that gun called specifically? That
A
style
Luger.
of gun, a Luger, and has like the coolest freaking mask on. And as a Gundam fan, I know the person with the mask is the coolest character.
Okay.
I was gonna say if you pull up those zombies also are. I don't even know if they're really technically zombies, but they.
Yeah, they are plant-based zombies. They are called the Gosbok, and they are a gift of the Gaunt Man, one of the evil High Lords. And he gifted that to all other High Lords that started the invasion. And basically, you just put corpses in the ground, a few seeds, and a few days later, you get mindless zombie drones under your command. And you can encounter these guys anywhere. That's why we put them in the welcome pack that everybody gets when they subscribe to the tribe. The Ghost are just the most generic, most often encounterable minions that you can see.
Yeah, they're really cool. And also, it's a big year right now for mushroom zombies. So
I was about to say
is
Last of
Ah,
Us, right?
sure.
Yeah. But yeah,
Oh,
they're great sculpts, and that's one of the sort of things. Like I think people need to know, like, regardless what game you're playing. I mean, I'd highly recommend checking out Torg. It's super cool, but that would be a flavorful use for just about anything. You know, your sci-fi magic dwarf here would be a good artificer mini for a D&D game. So like, it's going to be such a grab bag of minis. I hope people don't miss this.
yeah. So you're not just offering minis. You said this is like an integrated package.
Yes.
Also, I'm going to call out. You're only charging $5 for this, and you've got a
Yeah,
lot of models for $5.
Yeah, you get about 9 models, 4 individual models and 1 squad of 5 goons each month. And we designed the adventures that come each month to go with those miniatures. So you will always have an adventure and the miniatures you can print out to use directly each month. We started out with an idea to having a living campaign with Torg Eternity, which would be fantastic. You can just play the game, then send us the results at certain points, and we will include that in the narrative that is ongoing. But sadly, this wasn't possible due to personal resources, so we had just to do regular adventures, so around 10 pages each month. Yeah, and $5 a month. $10 would also be fine, but when you look at the SDL market, what you get on Patreon or on a tribe for $10, we just can't compete with that. We have one full-time sculptor that helped. She's helping us out doing all those great sculpts, and I just started hiring more freelance help, and we just can't. We can't just justify getting an amount of miniatures each month that would justify a $10 tribe. So it's only 9 miniatures and a PDF.
Yeah,
Honestly, I really like that $5 tier, and there's like a lot of my favorite artists are like sitting in that spot right now, and I do hope that more and more crew come up into that space instead of trying to compete with the water hose of miniatures that the $10 tiers seem to be competing to offer.
Yeah, it's also really easy to burn out at that level if you try to compete with big companies who have 5 to 6 sculptors each month pushing out 30 to 40 miniatures. You can't just compete with that. So we decided to go with a lower dollar count, but also a lower miniature count.
Yeah, but looking like at those troops, for instance, with your y-axis shift or whatever, you still got a ton of available models. I think it's still a really good value. I hope people catch on to it, blow it up.
Yeah, this Idanos priest. I just love that model. He has such attitude. It's just fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. This is a lizard man model that's like super noble, like kind of peaceful lizard dude at like a cool like standing up pose and wearing an awesome outfit for certain. This was like obviously for Torg it's awesome, but like I can think of like a dozen characters that I would love to play using.
Bunch of games would use it. Yeah.
Also, over the years, with all the Torg Eternity Kickstarters we did, we also offered acrylic tokens for the heroes and the enemies. And basically, those miniatures can now replace those tokens. We also made sure that the base size is exactly the same size as the token was. So we can just mix and match until we have all the miniatures available.
Very cool.
So let's say one of our listeners has been convinced that Torg sounds awesome. I need to play Torg, and this is my on-ramp into Torging. What do they need to do to get started? Like, what do they need to get to start rolling dice and exploding 20s?
You need 2d20s, 2d6, the core rule books, and the drama deck. One drama deck per round at the gaming table.
Where can somebody pick up a drama deck and a core rulebook?
It should be available everywhere where you can get RPGs from. But I think we have an American shop, the of.shop.com. Is that right? I rarely shop into our international market.
Yes, you have the F shop.
Yes. This doesn't sound
There's
good.
a lot of stuff on your F shop. It is huge.
Yeah. I mean, that's something we haven't really addressed yet. Like the licenses y'all have are amazing.
Yes. Besides our own IPs like Torg Eternity, The Dark Eye, or something like that, there's also the German translation for Pathfinder, Savage Worlds, Earthdawn, Vampire. Most of the biggest RPG lines are published in German by Ulisses Spiele.
So why 3D printing though? You obviously we explained why you need these cool minis, but why'd you go out to go with the 3D printing method for the release vector?
To cut out distribution from our side, which is, I think you have noticed that sending stuff around in the last few years was kind of a problem. Also, it's expensive. If you ship around miniatures, they break, and then you have to do replacement parts. But offering some person anywhere on Earth who has access to a 3D printer and a bottle of resin can now create those miniatures as they see fit. I think it's a fantastic distribution models. Also, they stay. Miniatures can go just out of print because the form broke down or anything else. SCL files are digital. They can be replaced everywhere. But also, we do print those miniatures in our German shop. I do the printing with our Saturn 2s. Eligo Saturn 2s in our workshop, and then just we pack them up and put them in our German F shop and send them out to our customers, because not all of them have a 3D printer at home. We will also offer with an additional shop on Only Games once we have once I find the free time to set that shop up too.
Yeah, that's not trivial.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Also, like right now, just a word out to our listeners who might be shopping on Only Games. There has been like an issue with the Royal Post. Like, this is way bigger than Only Games, but England's Royal Post has shut down exports. Not any allowed. So if you've got Only Games orders that are running late, have been, or since about Thanksgiving or Christmas, and you're expecting them anytime soon, England's got to fix its postal service first, and then they will be able to ship them.
Yikes!
So just some heads up about what's going on there. I found out about this the wrong way with some bad customer service emails. So sorry for the tangent there, but just
no problem.
Topical.
But also, see again, shipping is a problem, and offering SCL files to a customer is way easier.
I mean, especially with international terroristic hackers, it becomes a big problem.
Okay, yeah.
Are there international terroristic cyber pope hackers in Torg?
Probably. There's also cyber witches. They fight the cyber pope, which is super evil. So
the cyber pope is evil.
Is actually a cyber witch.
Oh no!
Yes.
Now you say one of the Storm Knights. Do you make your own Storm Knight, or do you play a character?
You can make up your own Storm Knight if you like to, but we just presented in the welcome pack, and the first miniature we released were just the iconic characters. So we have from each cosm, there are 2 to 3 archetypal characters that we use in all the illustrations, and that are really useful to showcase what the cosm and what the heroes from these cosm are all about.
So is Viola the cyber witch in question here?
Yes.
Okay, so basically you've got the Scarlet Witch kind of outfit with very cool sunglasses and a hood for our audio listeners. I would totally play this character in any cyberpunk game I could get away with.
That was the player character from my boss's wife. So also we not only he doesn't even include he didn't just bought the IP, he just bought all his personal expertise into that. But I did also. Torg was the Dragon Knights of the Dwarves were my first playtest character, and somehow they ended up now here. Besides Torg Eternity, we also offer other RPG line miniatures like Hexen 1733, which is an historical monster hunter game. The first character we released for that was also the character that I played in the playtest. So I'm really guilty of that, to bringing my characters first into the STL market for our game lines.
It's not that unusual. I think Adam also was talking about that from Twin Goddess, that he all of his characters are in there.
Yeah, if you have love for these characters, why shouldn't you just put that love into your product? It just helps.
It's one of the biggest perks of working in the industry is seeing your characters show up in things.
I'll say I even have my random drinking halfling now.
Mm-hmm.
Halfling mate is out there somewhere. I've been encouraging people to hold it hostage.
Yeah,
for Hexen and Torg, we mostly made the iconic characters at the start available. But for the Dark Eye, as the Dark Eye has such a heavy focus on the setting and of the personalities and the living game there, we made some personalities from the game available. The first miniature we ever released was Borbarat, the Necromancer, the most evil, biggest bad guy the Dark Eye ever had. And we released that as our first miniature, as a convention miniature, just to test the waters. And every person basically who attended that convention bought one of those miniatures.
Nice.
So, and my boss was like, I think you're onto something. So he made the suggestion that we offer one of those personalities each month now. And we offer those in 32 millimeters, just for the gaming table, if you so want. And also in a 15 centimeters big version, the big as my Saturn can.
Whoa.
So you can just put it into your bookshelf and he looks stern at you. So both of those have proven very popular.
I have been wanting to go see about like just 3D printing big ginormous statues.
Yeah.
Do we have any teasers for upcoming releases? Do you have any other like what kind of factions or things we might be seeing?
Can I share this?
I don't know.
Let me see. So.
Aha! I see it.
So
now we see it.
Ooh.
That's.
We have a big mummy snake thing.
Yes, that's the next month of the Torg Tribal Adventures.
Mummies with Tommy guns.
Those are the shock troopers I talked about from scientists. But you also have a Gosborg, a Robo Gosborg, and this advanced Gosborg who eats people.
We're gonna have to cut the stream off there, Michael. The overseas connection is not able to handle both you and the screen at the same time. My bad. So if you could just unshare that, we can get you back, and let's at least keep Michael. Also in chat, we've got Herberto, Titan Troll, Kevin, Alex, Dave, who is encouraging me to turn the AI eyes off. You're the first person to say so they are off now. James, Alex, and that's it. That's everybody in chat right now. So yay! Welcome aboard, everybody. So wait, the mummies with the Tommy guns. Those are the shock troopers?
Those are not mummies. Those are regular guys that were pressed into service for videos.
Can you unshare the screen?
I tried to.
We're still losing you.
Uh-oh.
And we have lost Michael. He should be able to just rejoin us and we'll get him back. There's Michael.
So Kevin, Christopher, and Lord Novus all also showed up in chat during that moment of technical Storm
yes,
Knight
yes.
reality warp happened. That's what it was.
Yeah. Awesome. So next month is looking wild. Are people going to be able to back up and get previous month's adventures and models? Because like
Yes,
a lot of
but
people like today, I think actually it might be too late to get the first month if you're listening to this podcast right now, because
depending
this
on
will
your
come
time
out
zone,
February
yes.
1st. Yeah. That is going to be unfortunate. But how do we back up? How do we back up and buy the
Well,
stuff we
the
want?
whole Cosmos, the whole month set will be available as one bundle with for a reduced price compared to the single purchase. So
Okay,
I
cool,
will
cool.
make that available for every month in the shop after the month set ended.
Yeah. And that will also get them the adventure that goes with the bundle, not just the models.
Yes.
Awesome.
You can also separately, if you're not interested in the SDL files, why? Then you can purchase the adventure on itself on Drive-Thru RPG for $3, I think.
Yeah. Just give the extra $2 and get the zombie snake.
Yeah, all of the miniatures later will cost $5, and you get the tribal subscription for $5. So, if
Yeah,
you're even
no
interested in
brainer.
one of the models from this month, you should subscribe. You get also on discount.
So we talked about Torg, and we talked about your offering there. You mentioned the Dark Eye. I guess if you're a Dark Eye player, those models are really good, but you can also use a ton of the fantasy models that are already out in the world.
Yeah,
But what
those
is
models we
this?
offered so far, they are mostly the personalities. If you see at the poses, they are not really up to a brawl fight, to a bar fight or something like that. They are like posing for their old portrait that is hanging in their stronghold. So this is very intentional to make them in these odd poses for a regular miniature game. But those are mostly for people wanting to have the representation of that personality that is important to them, staring at them from their bookshelf.
Yeah, and I do know that there's a big market for that because the Setiel model for Pathfinder goes for $45 on eBay. So people do want people do want those.
I think
Is
so,
that the
yes.
one with the open shirt midriff situation?
Of course, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
of
yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Phoenix in one hand, scimitar in the other, no shirt to speak of.
the himbo of Pathfinder. Says Erberto says they played Eyes of Satinov.
Yes, this was a PC game for the Dark Eye.
Oh, okay. I did not.
I
know
think
there
it was an
one.
adventure from Daedalic.
And the other game you all offer is something called Hexen.
Yes, Hexen is a very fun Monster Hunter game set in the year 1733. In the 30-Year War, 100 years before, some mercenaries opened up the portal to hell in Germany, and a lot of storm demons came out and just ravaged the whole world. You now have the historical setting, but also kingdoms of werewolves and vampires and demons running around, and you play hunters. Have you seen Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunter? The movie.
Yes, of course.
Yes,
This is
I have.
basically the role-playing game for that.
That
Deeply
movie-
guilty pleasure.
Yes,
It's
that
terrible,
movie
but I
deserved a
love it.
sequel.
yes. It's a very action-oriented, but also it's odd because the most of the adventures are all action-oriented. And as the author of the game is also a big Cthulhu fan and author, there's a lot of investigation going on that you can do. But then you kick ass.
Awesome.
So are those
So-
is Hexen going to be getting STL files too?
Yes, of the iconic characters for now, but we will also offer monster files very soon.
I was about to say the monster files. You had me at demons, of course. So I was like, what are they going to be? I want to see them now.
Yeah, you can also see some some of those miniatures from that time period are not as easily obtainable as generic fantasy. So we have somebody with a powdered wig, which is a mummy lord, and he's just an evil necromancer guy in that outfit.
Yes.
I think it's an absolute delicious combination, and we have such great artwork from our Spanish illustrator Carlos Diaz, and I'm so happy to bring miniatures of that to the table. At the moment there is no tribe planned to bring those into reality, but we will offer one or two of those models each month on top, depending on how much our freelancers can bring to the table.
Yeah, don't burn them out yet. We want to see all the things, so gotta keep
Yes.
them coming.
Yeah. Do tribe members get discount to the store?
Yes, to all miniatures. Even if you're not interested in Torg Eternity and just a big fan of the Dark Eye, you can also get 20% discount at the moment. That was my character. He's a big tank. He just collects all the enemies on the battlefield and just let them hit him.
For our audio listeners, it is a very dapper, bulky man with a gigantic hammer and the best hat.
That's
Which
nice
is very
hat.
important in that time period, yes.
So, what time period is this set in?
Hexen 1733.
Oh,
So, as
that-
the name suggests, this is also very convenient for if this game goes really through the roof, we can also offer other years that might be of interest. So, like Hexen 33, where you fight German barbarian werewolves with Roman soldiers or something like that. But this is way down the line. Hexen is now in publication for 5 years. We have dozens of products and adventures and rule supplements. We even announced a second edition last week. Maybe this second edition will also see an entrance into the English market.
Ooh.
So, have you been 3D printing yourself for very long?
Oh, yes. Yes, for 3 years now. I started out with an Illegal Mars.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a nice small machine, and it was really exciting to get miniatures out of toxic goo. And a few hours later, you have the first printed miniature in your hand. It was fantastic. Yeah, and I'm mostly into the Illigo resin printer. I now have a Saturn, but after I changed the display, everything I print is mirrored. I'm working with it with the support team. I don't understand anything about
Did
it.
you like
This
putting
hasn't
it
happened
upside
before.
down?
No, like the left hand becomes the right hand and such, and the print quality is way down than before.
Ooh.
Yeah, but our Saturn II that we use in the office is just running and running and running. Those are such fantastic machines. After my first year with resin printing, I tried filament also. I got an Ender 3. And I had violent fantasies about this machine.
Yes,
You are
one
my
of
people.
us.
You know how I
needed
feel about it.
I needed to let it go. I donated it to school just to get rid of it. Now I have a Viper here, which is much more reliable. Well, I had to
Right.
the first generation Viper, and I had to replace basically half of the machine parts. But it's great. Yeah.
My Ender 3, I got so frustrated, I just gave it to one of our listeners. I was like, whoever
Yeah.
can pay for shipping, free printer. And I just sent it off into the world.
Yeah, in my role-playing game podcast, I just offer it like I can't stand this machine anymore. If somebody from school just send me a notification, I will send it to you for free. And basically, 2 days later, I was able to get rid of it.
You have a
You
role
also
playing
do
game
a podcast. Yeah, so say, let's hear
Yes.
about that.
Yes.
It's basically when I started working for Ulisses, I had to move around Germany, and I couldn't play with my friends back then. And online gaming wasn't an issue back in the day. So we, what can we do to celebrate our hobby and spend time together? So we started a podcast 8 years ago or so. We're now in episode 217, and we
Nice.
just talk about generic RPG stuff on our homepage. And we do also, and we're still doing fan downloads and fan work for the RPGs and tabletop games because we enjoy it so much,
Nice.
despite
Is that
working full time. Yeah.
So what's the name of that podcast? And is it English or German language?
It's just German. It's the Dorpcast. Dorp is an acronym for Dimension of Role Playing, and this was the website that my buddy made in the 90s. And we have been known as a circle of friends that around this homepage and his all play group for nearly 25 years.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's
That really is German me.
It's kinda great.
Okay, so one of the things we didn't touch on too much is Ulisses Spiele. You're doing this awesome stuff with the 3D printing. You've got these 3 games that you're featuring here. You also, when I was scrolling through that list, there were a lot more than 3 games. You all also serve as a hub for translating a lot of games into German.
Yes. Personally, I'm the game line manager for Savage Worlds and Savage Pathfinder by now, Earth Dawn, and Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition. I was
is
also for BattleTech, but Ulisses will lose the license in April of this year, after 10 years.
That is
Oh,
a
wow.
group. That is a big group all in one house.
Yeah,
Is
also we
like
have all of the World of Darkness games and Pathfinder, and let me give. I usually forget a few of those. I was also the game line manager for the German edition of Tales of Equestria, which I really loved, the My Little Pony role playing game, which was just fantastic. So yeah, Fading Suns is also one of our IPs, and we did a Kickstarter for that. We did the German edition for the Alien role-playing game, the Dune role-playing game, Tales from the Loop. We have
Fallout.
Fallout is now nearly finished, yeah. And we have The Dark Cat, which is basically set in the world of The Dark Eye, but with cats being... just at night, those cats start living like humans and interact with each other. And it's very cute.
That's awesome.
Used for all those chibi miniatures we talked about last episode.
Yes, maybe. Actually, a lot of people ask about, why don't you do cats for the next Kickstarter or something? Because we don't have the personal resources. I would love to bring so many more miniatures to our game lines, but at the moment we have mostly the problem that we don't have now and not enough time to bring everything that we want to the market.
I mean,
I
this is
feel
your
that.
first foray into the market. It'd be foolish to think of you to do everything you possibly want to do all at once.
Yeah, I'm really thankful to my boss that he gave me the time to just set up the shop and the STL files in advance to just came up with a concept. I pitched the idea in October of 2020. But that was the first time I came to them. It took some time because there's also issues with the American side that some of the game line managers in North America had to step down due to health issues and stuff like that. So a lot of the adventures just took longer than we expected.
Right. I mean, it's not like we all were busy in 2020. Nothing was going on.
No, we had time
Well, and our fantastic
for new
healthcare
ideas,
system.
right?
Anyway.
Awesome. Alex Schibler says, is your company involved in the EU RPG industry union?
This is one of our friends. Uhrwerk Verlag has teamed up with a French publisher and an Italian publisher to bring those EU RPG industry union to life. But we are not part of that union. But we also joined Paizo with the ORC.
The Orc. You all are
Yes.
going to be signing on with the Orc.
Yes, we do. So all of the rule sets for the Dark Eye, for Hexen, for Torg Eternity will also be made available in an SRD file, so you can just publish for those games.
I did not know. That's cool.
Yeah, it's we have to check if this is compatible with German copyright law, which is quite the challenge to make that internationally. But we're into that.
So, question there. German copyright law is drastically different than the rest of the world's copyright law?
Oh, yes. You see, in German copyright law, you can't just buy all of the rights from an author. They always keep some of the rights. You can just license the rights of use from them. So this makes even translations. So if we just bought, let's say, Pathfinder. So I can't just use Shadowrun. Shadowrun is published by another company in Germany. So if we just bought Shadowrun, we don't hold the rights to the German translations. We have to negotiate again with the German translators to use their translation if we want to publish those books again.
So, like, if that became a problem, you would have to retranslate it?
Yes.
Oh wow, that sounds. Let's go into this. What goes into translating an RPG? This cannot be easy.
Well, usually we have glossaries with the English term and the German term, and those are thousands of entries long to just give it to another team so they can continue the work on it. But usually I highly recommend starting a translation only when the original product went to the printers. So you have a dead end, and nothing will change after that point. If you don't do that, like a lot of the board game companies do, when they offer different translated versions of their board game at the same time, when you get the translation, often those are quite in the flux. So, and a lot of stuff is still changing. This is more of a challenge than just taking a finished product and doing a translation of that. But as always in translation, the core book, the first book, is always the hardest, because you have to set up a glossary, you have to set up a style sheet, how you translate stuff like that, and after that it gets slightly easier with each book.
Slightly easier.
Slightly easier. You have to set up a new team of freelancers who are also burning with desire to have more German products for that, and but you have to find those people first. And as with most people in the industry, we do have about 40 employees at Ulisses, but we still are very dependent on a lot of freelance work.
I've heard of this becoming difficult. Famously, Ryan Costello, who I used to host No Direction with, told me about the French translation for Dungeons and Dragons was difficult because before third edition, they had translated wizard over to sorcier or sorcerer, and then
Yeah.
sorcerer came out. And
Yes.
so do
This
you run
is-
into issues like this?
Yeah, not that specifically, but that stuff like that happens all the time, because English has 6 times the amount of words in German, so we don't have like a broad array of words to choose from. So we have to find a compromise to make that happen in German.
It's because English loots words like murder hobos in a dungeon.
It's
Yeah,
true.
and in Germany you can just combine words to create new words, which is fun. But yeah, that's why nobody wants to play against somebody from Germany at Scrabble, because our words are so long. At one point, we had the German translation of the Star League Defense Forces book for BattleTech, and the German title for the Star League Defense Forces is just one word. It's
That's awesome.
It's Sternebund Verteidigungsstreitkräfte, and it's that was hard to fit on the cover.
I bet. It's amazing.
Good grief. Oh, so you mentioned the orc, which I guess we should do a small news update for the story, because we ran a story on this a couple of episodes back. The whole thing with the D&D and the OGL, which spawned the orc, which is the reason the orc exists, because Wizard of the Coast was threatening to deauthorize the OGL, a questionably legal decision that is even possible. But smartly, you all and a group of publishers are deciding to make sure that can never happen again. Oh, and Kristen, Seventh Mastery, you all are signed up on that as well.
Yeah, Lost Spheres is also signed up on that.
I know No Direction also signed up on it, so I'm glad to see that crew working with them. Wizards of the Coast has seen the error of their ways and the balance of their bank account, and has backed off entirely, including a strange decision to release all of the 5.1 SRD into Creative Commons. Wow, that was choice. I'm definitely glad it's over, and I look forward to what comes of the orc and all of these creative teams now that the gigantic ubiquity of D&D 5e seems to have been cracked and shaken from the recent events.
Or becomes completely ubiquitous forever now. I could see an active 5e community, specifically 5e, even more than like 3.5 and Pathfinder 1, kind of that rule set getting extended. You're going to see a community that carries that specific rule set on indefinitely, I bet.
But for those of you who've been looking for some new games to play, can we recommend Torg or the Dark Eye? Or they can't? There's no English translation of
Hexen yet.
Hexen
No,
yet.
but the Dark Eye core book was part of the bundle of holding non-OGL fantasy stuff a few weeks ago.
I did see that.
Yeah, and it was very successful. I hope a lot of people now recognize the Dark Eye and get a look of these very European-centric fantasy.
When I used to run a game store, we imported a copy of one of the earlier English translations of the Dark Eye, and I was fascinated with that book. So definitely a lot of love for Dark Eye for me, especially. And though at this point, I need to play Torg because that sounds wild.
Yes, I can see why.
Are there rules for the to add new kingdoms? New, you said, was it
New
Cosmos?
Cosmos?
New Cosmos, yeah.
I don't think I have seen rules, but it's very easy to import your own fantasy setting or any setting at all into the Torg cosmology.
Right.
Just add another cosmos that does the invasion of Core Earth.
Right. I think that'd be interesting to do. So I was curious.
Mhm.
So, what do you think about the current state of the 3D printing industry that you've come in on, and where do you see it going, or where do you hope it goes?
If I would know that, I would be a far richer man. But yeah, I think I was kind of surprised that Ulisses Spiele is the first RPG publisher that started this combination of adventure and STL files. I have seen a lot of RPG companies offer license it out to produce miniatures, and just their miniatures in the wild and no product associated to it. We can now offer a combination of both to just combine those two worlds, and I think everybody will win at the end. I have seen that a lot of these tokens that we sell, acrylic tokens for Torg Eternity, get used on the battle maps, and you now can have a 3D representation of those miniatures in the future. I think that's really for a very, very low cost. I think that's very attractive for a lot of game tables out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I grab packs like that from war games all the time, so it's cool that there's another source for people to plunder for multiple uses.
Roberto is predicting in 2023 my mini factory invades Poland and starts the great STL war. At the rate they're expanding, I wouldn't put it past them, but I'm not sure the servers would hold up. They barely hold up now.
Mm.
All right, awesome. So if anybody was wanting to get into this and follow you, sign up, where should they do that?
Well, we have several social media accounts on for the Dark Eye, for Ulisses Spiele International on Instagram, on Facebook, and Torg Eternity has its own homepage as has Fading Suns, so you can find us on the social medias or on our homepage. Our American homepage is mostly vacant at the moment, but we are working on that to get that back and running. And also most of our RPGs are on Drive-Thru RPG, and you can find our STL files now on My Mini Factory.
Awesome. All right, everyone. If you are interested in this at all, or just want some really wild and cool miniatures, definitely go support the Torg Eternity tribe over on My Mini Factory. Check out Ulisses Spiele. Check out the Dark Eye. Check out Hexen. Some really wild stuff there that's awesome. I'm wanting to see more people in this space. I want to see more big companies realizing that this is a way to go. And more importantly, I want to see more medium and small companies realizing that you can have a mini line. You don't have to go to China and get $30,000 molds made.
The upfront cost for a miniature line in the STL market are way smaller than investing in like something like bones or a Cyocast machine or a hard plastic. So if you have a talented sculptor that you have a good contract with, you can push out a lot of miniatures that should be great fun for everyone involved and also bring back the buck.
Awesome. All right. So if you want to find more of our stuff and follow our podcast, you can do so over at printyourgames.com. We're also on Facebook and Twitter at Print Your Games. And of course, over on YouTube at youtube.com/Param. And until next time, I'm Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Param.
I'm Kristen Sowards, also known as Seventh Mastery. And don't forget to use your screen protector.
And
I'm
this is
Michael
Michael
Mingers,
Mingers from
Bye.
Ulisses Spiele. Thank you.